Good morning. Good morning. I'm Dr. August Mebin, one of the principal consultants at Solutionist Advisory Group. Happy Monday. I wanted to come on and address a question I get a lot, and I call this video Don't Ask, Don't Tell. And it's really just a quick guide for both employees and managers. So, whether you're an employee or whether you're a supervisor of people, I want you to listen to this video. We're going to talk about don't ask, don't tell, like mind your business at work. And I'm first going to talk about the employee side. So remember, my perspective is from an HR perspective. Okay. And I've been doing this for over 20 years now. I'm working with people, managing, coaching, being in leadership and management, interviewing people. So I just want to come on, and these videos are to help people. Okay. So from an employee standpoint, I know it's great. We think we're going to make friends at work. We think that we might find our new BFF at work. We have these so-called work wives and work husbands, which I personally don't believe in, but people have them. People have found best friends. They have found spouses at work. At the same time, there's always a risk, right? And I'm sure all of us can attest to a time where sharing our personal information, our personal lives, has come back to bite us. Let me give you an example. What exactly do I mean? Perhaps you're the person that shares that your kids are in soccer, or you don't have childcare and you work from home. You are having spousal issues. Listen, that's no one's business but your own. Now, let me put my caveat out there. How you operate at work, that's your business. I'm just here to give you some tips on how to be the most successful you can be in your career and in your work life. Okay. I am the person that I will share on an as needed basis. Okay, as needed, because I was the person at one point who would share personal information before I really knew better. And then I became that person that became as needed. Okay, and really understanding what exactly is needed. All right. So don't tell your business, because it can and it will at some point come back to haunt you in some kind of way. Okay. If you are having medical issues, the biggest thing I see people do is tell their medical issues to their supervisor. Cut that out. Do not do that. Don't tell them you have diabetes, or all of a sudden your blood pressure is high, or, you know, your child is this, your husband is that, your wife is this. Keep that information to yourself or talk to human resources. And here's why. Human resources is supposed to keep that information confidential. Okay. So if you only tell one person and it gets out, you know who told and you can address it. If you tell your supervisor, all of your coworkers, the lady in the cafeteria, and HR, you don't know who's sharing your information. But if you only tell HR, you should not hear that information repeated. And HR will not share the specifics of your situation with your supervisor or manager. At least they shouldn't. Okay. So here's why you only want to tell HR. Because if you need FMLA, which is the Family Medical Leave Act, and you're going to need to take some time off, you have up to 12 weeks now. This is for employers who have 50 or more employees. Okay. If your job is eligible to offer you FMLA and you are eligible to receive FMLA, you've been there a year, you put your hours in, then you want to talk to HR about FMLA to protect your job. A lot of people just talk to their supervisor and say, hey, my spouse isn't feeling well. I might have to take them to the doctor or the hospital or whatever the case may be. And they may be understanding after a while, but what if your spouse is really ill and you need to be there to support them after a while, because they don't understand the severity of the illness and it's not their job to understand it. They may be like, you're missing too much time. And you have nothing documented to say, well, okay, I told you my husband was sick. Okay, great. You told me your husband was sick, but legally, you can protect your job to say, okay, HR, I'm telling you, my covered immediate family member is not doing well. And I may be missing every Thursday for the next 5 weeks. Okay. Or as needed, however, the doctor writes up that paperwork. But get that paperwork in. If it's yourself, definitely get that paperwork in. If you're supposed to go out for a minor surgery and then your recovery time is a week, you're like, I have enough vacation time to cover that. Great. still put in your paperwork? What if there are complications? What if your recovery takes longer than necessary? If you have a special needs child, get that paperwork filled out. If you know that they could have seizures at any moment, or you may need to be home with them for whatever the reason, at any time, cover your job and don't tell everybody in your business. Let me tell you why. I've had people come to me and say, "Hey, Dr. Mebin, I asked for this promotion. I am the most qualified person on the team. I did everything I need to do. I should get this promotion, but then I went and talked to my supervisor about it, and they brought up the personal information I shared and asked me if I would be able to handle this additional uh, responsibility because I have so much going on. They're so concerned about me." See, it came back to bite you. It came back to bite you. And people will do that. And is it legal? No, it's not legal. And we're going to talk about what the manager should be doing because your manager should be telling you when you're telling them all your business to go talk to HR about FMLA, whether it's anxiety, whether it's panic attacks, whatever you are going through that can impact your mind and your body. If you're eligible for FMLA, please go talk to HR. If it's something that's going on where you need an accommodation, talk to HR. You don't want to tell your medical history or your information to your manager or supervisor. Go talk to HR. If you need a standing desk because you had spinal surgery a year ago and you can't sit more than 15 minutes, they don't need to know that. All they need to know is HR reached out to them to say, "Hey, we're having an ADA accommodation and we're going to purchase so and so a standing desk." That's all they need to know. They don't need to know the backstory. It's none of their business. Stop telling your managers and supervisors and your coworkers. And I'm telling you, some of these coworkers you're trusting, thinking they're not saying anything, are laughing and kikiing it up with the manager and supervisor. And whether they're doing it on purpose or not, they are sharing your business. Keep your mouth shut. Be cordial. I'm not saying you have to be shut down and a complete introvert and not bond with people. I'm just saying, as long as you work there, keep certain things to yourself. Everything doesn't need to be shared, especially your medical information concerning yourself, concerning your loved ones, whatever the case may be. Okay. But as I said, it is up to you how much of this you take. You take what you need and you leave the rest alone. If you feel like I'm being too much, okay, this video is not for you. Now, let's talk a little bit about managers. Now, you are a manager, meaning you supervise people. Someone reports to you, okay? You sign off on their performance and you sign off on their work and you sign off on their pay. That's who I'm talking to now. Employees, keep listening because the more you know about the expectations of managers and leaders, the better you can navigate your career, right? Managers. I've seen both sides. I have people that couldn't care less about anybody on their team, and I've seen people who just care too much and they're all in everybody's business. Okay. I've seen managers get in trouble by this. Okay. They tell you about their medical condition and y'all cry together and the tears are rolling, but you still have a job to do as a manager. You're still got to hold your team accountable for their output. You still have to hold them accountable for their attendance, for their performance, whether they're professional or not. You still have to do your job regardless of how much you know about their personal information. And sometimes that can become a gray area when you're like, but her mom has cancer or his dad has dementia and not doing well and lives with him and had him up at 3 a.m. Show people grace, no matter what side you're on. Show people grace. But there comes a time when you have to make some business decisions, and the more you know, the harder it is, right? We're human. And if it's not hard for you, I'm not saying you won't do it. You have to check yourself, make sure that human meter is still moving, right? Because yes, we become managers, but we're managers of people. And so we want to show people grace. But the more information you know, the more responsible you become. So if someone shares they have a medical condition, someone in their immediate family has a medical condition or something going on. If they tell you about their spinal surgery they had a year ago and it's hard for them to sit, if you just sit there and take tissue and give it to them and y'all wiping tears together, you are putting yourself and the job, your organization at risk. You know why? Because let's say they don't like you anymore and they say, "Hey, I told you I had spinal surgery. Now my back is even worse." You're responsible for that information. You need to say to them in that moment, "Listen, I know you have a lot going on, and I empathize, and I hope everything gets better for you or for your family member. Listen, what I want you to do is I want you to call so and so in HR, or here's the number to HR." And then you follow up in writing and say, "I know we had a very confidential email conversation today about some family issues you may have going on. I want to make sure I'm being of great support to you. I just want to make sure I give you this information so you can have it now and maybe if you need it in the future. If you have EAP for your employees and they get free therapy or counseling, or whatever, or they help you find housing, whatever it is, put those resources in there, and that way it doesn't look like you are documenting, but you really are. You're saying, I care about you and I'm giving you resources. Now the onus is back on that employee to reach out to those resources. Okay. But if you say nothing, as a manager, as a leader, you are responsible for informing your employees about what's available to them. And what's available to them, if you don't know the details of FMLA, you probably should study a little bit. But if you don't, send them to the experts that should know, which is your HR department. Okay. So stop having these conversations. Other thing is sexuality. People will try to, you can't be so trusting of everyone. Okay. Some people will come in and smile in your face and throw hints at you about them being, homosexual, bisexual, whatever you prefer to call these things. Okay. And what they are doing is they know they're a terrible employee. People know if they're a good employee or not coming in the door. There, I've had someone who has tried to set up one of my clients like that, talked about their sexuality all the time. It was always a topic of conversation, was a terrible employee. And therefore, when they tried to take some action against his performance, all of a sudden was, "Oh, you just don't like me because I'm gay or because I am a certain religion or because I have a special needs child." You're biased. You're using that information against me. You see how it can be flipped on you as a manager? Then what? They sue the company. They go to HR and make complaints against you. And then it's their word against yours because you're having these conversations. Managers, another thing you need to do is stop sharing people's business. If someone tells you their mom's on their deathbed or their child isn't doing well, their child broke their arm, no matter how minute it seems to you, if an employee finds out you shared with another employee or another manager or another supervisor about their personal business, they lose trust in you. And then they always assume when something comes out, it's you sharing that information. And if you work in HR and you're doing that, shame on you because that information should be confidential. It should not leave your office. And I know a lot of people in HR who honor that confidentiality, and I know a lot of people in HR who have not honored it over the years. Shame on you if you're sharing people's personal information. If you can't do anything else in HR, be a safe place for employees to come. Come on, that's the job. And your HR is neutral. So I want employees to understand that even though you may come to HR for something, your supervisor can also go to HR. But HR, your job is to be a neutral party, hear both sides, and help work through it. Okay? Not make a decision or judgment from the first party who arrives. Yeah, the supervisor might say that the employee is terrible, but why is the employee terrible? Is the employee terrible because they're in a hostile work environment, because they're being sexually harassed and no one's addressing it? Ask questions, go observe, get in there. Okay. And in the world that we live in with hybrid work and remote work, you got to work even harder at your job in HR because you have to stay on top of this stuff. Somebody being cyberbullied by another colleague or through their supervisor typing in all caps to them all the time to yell at them, right? Or are they harassing them all hours of the night or, sending threatening emails? You got to be on top of this stuff. You got to ask questions, okay? You got to ask questions. But I'm going to stay on topic. So this was really about don't ask, don't tell, about telling your business. I really wanted to focus on the the part about health, and how it can impact your being a manager, and how it can also impact your potential promotion, and etc. So I hope you got something out of this video. If I could leave you with anything, I'm going to say be cautious, right? Be cautious. Um, if you don't already know the person, you don't know what they'll do under pressure, or what they will do if they're just a chatty Cathy, right? Or a chatty Joe, however you want to put it. Be careful sharing information. That's my final thought, right? Be careful because you don't know how someone's going to use it. You can have a bad day at work. One day, it has nothing to do with what you shared with someone. And then all of a sudden, they're saying you're unfocused, or you can't handle your new responsibilities, or if you want a promotion, you got too much going on right now. And that's none of their business. And managers, stop trying to punish people who utilize their FMLA. We'll talk about that in another video. And employees, know your rights for when you are. Um, Officially signed up for FMLA in your company, and employees stop abusing FMLA, right? So we'll talk about that in a different video. But that's a whole topic by itself. But I want to encourage people, managers and employees, to just kind of mind your business, right? Care about each other. I'm not talking about, you can't say, oh, Susie did great at basketball. I mean, those are things that make us human, and that's fine. And you decide your level of comfortability sharing details about you and your loved ones. Okay. And if somebody shows you who they are the first time, believe them. If you told them Susie cried after basketball and then you hear it from somebody else, guess what? If you tell them you're having uh, surgery for something specific, you're probably going to hear that again too. Just the way people are set up sometimes. Okay. So be cautious, show people grace. Um, I'll give a quick example. I had a manager who was like, so and so's mom died, and shared it with the team. He had no ill intent. It came from such a pure place. That employee was very upset. And when I sent my condolences, she said, "How did you know that? I didn't want anybody to know." And she started crying hysterically. I felt so bad. And I said, "Listen, I'm going to have the person come to you. It wasn't anything bad. They really just wanted the team to show you some support." And I went to that manager and I said, "Hey, I just said, I'm sorry for the loss of your mother. She did not take it well and is very upset that the information was shared. And I thought you should know. So maybe you should go have a conversation." Okay. So this is to my manager at the time. I wasn't the VP. I wasn't, the director. I was, subordinate to someone. And I had to go tell them. I managed up. I'm like, "Hey, go fix this real quick, real quick." Okay. Managers, if someone is ill or anything, ask them, "Hey, do you want people to send you well wishes or condolences or come to the funeral?" Some people are very private, so just keep that in mind as well. All right, guys. I've actually enjoyed this chat. If you have questions, or if you have specific topics you want me to talk about from a leadership, management, or HR perspective, put them in the comments or email consulting@sagadvisorygroup.com. I love getting your questions and your topics, and I'll cover them on this channel. All right, be sure to subscribe and to share on your social media pages. And take care, everyone. Bye.